Welcome back, everyone. Oh my goodness, there has been just so much going on. But today I thought I would have you spend the day in the kitchen with me. I'd show you some of what I'm doing, and we would talk about where we're at with the 59-day transformation. So I was running up against some brick walls, quite honestly. One, I was tired constantly, um, and the scale wasn't moving, and all the things. It's like everything was just stacking up against me, and I felt like I was failing because I couldn't get the scale to move. I wasn't feeling any better. The whole deal. I had a appointment with my primary care physician, and it worked out really well. We sat and had a chat, and she pointed out, which is part of this story, is that, I said, I'm not making any progress. And she said, "Okay, number 1," she goes, "You have not gained any weight, and you have not been able to work out for over 6 months because of your injury." She goes, "So, actually, you're doing phenomenal because you're maintaining." And I went, "Oh, wow. Okay." So I was, feeling down because I felt like I wasn't making progress when just that simple change of perspective made it actually a success story. And sometimes I think that that's what we need to do. We need to change our perspective. Have you ever felt defeated by like a plateau when you were actually doing the hard work of just staying steady? It's mind boggling sometimes. So today I hopped into the kitchen and uh, am cooking up a whole bunch of food, which I will tell you why I'm doing this. But this right here is my husband's dinner because he can eat carbs. I can't. And he wanted goulash. And so I threw together some goulash in the crock pot so that his dinner could cook up while I was doing all the other fun stuff. So, in layman's terms, honestly, when you don't eat enough calories, then your metabolism slows way down. And you need that certain calorie amount, even if you're, basically not doing a whole bunch, you still need to meet that base calorie amount just for functioning, just for breathing, just for sitting up. There's a certain amount of calories that we need every day. And I was not near that. I was not near that. And part of it is because I legitimately can only eat so much at a time. And we had a really great chat about this because I've been looking at different things going, what can I do in order to, you know, one, get this weight moving? Because it's like I got stalled in the middle of losing all the weight with recovery number 1 and then recovery number 2. And it's just been kind of a consistent thing. And it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. So I asked her, I said, I can't hit the calories that I need to hit without eating carbs. Now, a big part of the reason that I did any and all of this is because I am diabetic and I am currently controlling it with diet. I am completely off medication. And this is from somebody that did everything she was told to do. I was on 3 different kinds of medication. And the last straw was when they put me on Ozempic. I mean, that will break your bank account in a heartbeat. And it didn't do anything. It basically gave me a get out of jail free card because it did. I said, "Oh, I'm taking this, so I'll just continue eating the way that I am." It doesn't work that way, my friends. No, it does not. You have to do the work. You have to remove the stuff that's actually causing the problems. And it's not, you know, so it's not just about the weight, it's also about staying off the medication, and I wanna make sure to make that, that point. So, when I, talked to her and I knew that my body was going into protection mode based on my metabolism, but when I talked to her, I said, "Okay, I have been looking at a whole bunch of different things, and because I cannot eat all these carbs without ending up back on the medication, I don't want to do that." The only other thing that I seem to think that will work is if I eat more of a keto lifestyle. And she said, "Well, that's basically what you're doing." I said, "It is, but it's not, because I can literally only eat about 3 or 4 ounces of meat at a time, and that doesn't leave me any room at all for side dishes, like sweet potatoes or salad or anything like that, you know? It's literally 3 to 4 ounces of meat, and I'm done, and that's fine. I'm good with, eating the meat, but the issue is that my body is not getting enough. So if I eat ketogenic, then the focus is also on the fat. Fat doesn't take up a whole bunch of space, but it does give me the calorie intake that I need. And so she said, absolutely. That's absolutely correct. Yes, the fat will increase the calories, which will get your metabolism moving again. And we'll see how that works. And I went, okay, great. Let's do it. So I went to town and pulled out a whole bunch of stuff out of the freezer to get used, and that is what I'm doing here today. So I've got bacon that I cooked up because basically I just cooked myself a whole bunch of grab and go meat. Like I think I've mentioned before, if I have to stop in the middle of my day to cook anything, I'm not going to eat it. If I have to stop in the middle of my day to do anything, then grab and go or maybe heat it up in the microwave, I'm not going to eat it. There's just not the time to focus in on that. And so that's also been part of the problem. But if I meal prep, then I have some tools at my disposal. And so my idea was I'm going to cook up a pound of bacon. And so that will be very easy to, just grab and go. I found some great Italian sausage in the freezer. I found some not so great Italian sausage in the freezer, and I combined it all. And then I added some ground beef to it because for some reason, meatballs have been on my brain like a lot. And I figured, okay, if I add the ground beef, mix it in with the sausage, number one, there's more fat because the ground beef's kind of lean. There's more fat. There'll be more flavor because sausage is phenomenal, right? And I will just make a bunch of meatballs. Yes. And so that's what I did. I just got it all in there. I got it all mixed up and we got them scooped out and ready to eat. So when you add the extra fat, it provides the necessary calories to signal my metabolism that it's safe to start burning it again, which honestly, it has not had that communication for, a little bit because I historically am lucky to eat maybe 1,500 to 1,600 calories a day, but my body requires 22 to 2,400 calories a day, and that's without working out. And while it kind of is counterintuitive, it's just the way your body works. And so that's what I ran into. Now, the fun part is that today, yes, today, I stepped into the gym again. I did. And I gotta tell you, it was a little strange, you know? I love going to the gym. I love working out. I love hanging out with my friends and working out, getting a good workout. I love sweating, the whole process. I absolutely adore it and proving to myself that I can do these things. And I have not been able to do it for over 6 months. And so I was in there bright and early this morning, and the first thing I noticed is, wow, there's a lot of people here for this time of day because it wasn't this way when I left. So apparently, a whole bunch of people and new faces. I only saw a couple of familiar faces. It was it was strange. It was strange walking back in. It was like, okay, I'm here to see an old friend. Sit down, change my shoes, grab my water bottle, and let's get this going. So I hopped up on the treadmill, which I have been a little worried about because I'm afraid of falling. I've never been afraid of falling in my entire life. But I know that sometimes I can trip over my own feet. Let me know if you do. And I was afraid that if I misstepped on the treadmill, that it would cause me to, if I started to fall, that I would react by using my injured shoulder to catch myself, which would cause extreme damage. Um, I got up on the treadmill and I set everything up and I started doing my thing. I was only slightly slower than what I was doing before. And I walked for half a mile on a 3 incline, which is not extreme, but it's, better than just walking straight, I guess. And the entire time, I was holding on to the sidebar with my left hand. I was it took me a bit because I caught myself gripping the sidebar. I'm like, "No, Lisa, let go, let go, let go." And, just kinda kept going. I did it for half an hour, and then my friend showed up, and I did it for another half an hour with her. So by the end of that, I managed to walk 3 miles and work up a nice little sweat, and I love it. So, to start off this week so I don't end up limping all over the place and overdoing it, I'm going to be walking. And then next week, I will incorporate weights back into it. It's like you don't go in there doing everything that you were always going to do. I'm not 20 anymore, and that's okay. I don't really want to be 20 again. I want to be 80 and healthy and strong. And that is the goal. So the bacon's in the oven and the first tray of meatballs is made. They're big. I used an ice cream scoop on purpose because I literally want them to be grab and go. So I don't reach for carbs when I'm hungry. Then eggs, because having quick, easy, hard boiled eggs is probably one of the easiest protein sources that you can do. And so I think I boiled up like 8 or 9 of those. Um, I do it a very simple manner. I simply bring the water up to a boil, add the eggs, set the timer for 18 minutes, and then give them a cold bath. But in the meantime, there's that beautiful bacon. Yes, it is. And so I'm going to let that cool a little bit before I put it into a dish. So this is all going on all at one time. So now that the bacon is out of the oven, I can put the sausage into the oven, and I can cook up the extra ground beef that I'm going to use for a cottage cheese bowl. I'd never have jumped onto this trend, and I am absolutely in love with it now that I've tried it. I found out that there's a gyro seasoning. Never knew that. And so I got some. I love gyros. I love them a lot. And so that is the seasoning that I'm going to be adding to this ground beef. I'm going to cook it up so it's ready to rock and roll. I can eat it cold. I can heat it up, whatever. You put down a base layer of cottage cheese in the bowl. You put a little bit of the meat on there. You put some red onion, tomato, cucumber, and it tastes like a gyro without the pita bread, and it's super good, and it's very filling. I found out the first time that 1 cup of meat is too much for me, so I have to back it down to a half a cup of meat, and it's like a half of a small cucumber and just a little bit of diced red onion. Yeah, over a what did I use? A half a cup of cottage cheese. That is like the perfect meal for me. I could literally eat that twice a day, every day for weeks and never get tired of it. Something that I think I need to remember, and so maybe you need to remember that this isn't just a 59-day sprint. It's about what happens on day 60 and beyond, that we have to pay attention to. This is building the habits and the discipline and the intention. I managed to get all of this prepped within literally 2 hours, and that includes Phil's dinner. So that's taken care of for the week. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing all the stuff. I'm still managing to get in a full work day every day. I am officially the CEO of my own health. And it's just taking a little bit of time, a little bit of changing the perspective of what I'm looking at, and making it work from there. Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you just need to change that perspective a little bit. So, with that being said, you know, perspective is everything. What can you do to change your perspective on a hurdle that you are having trouble getting over? Look at those meatballs. Look at those meatballs. Yeah. Tell me in the comments what is one stall in your life that you can now see as a maintenance win. We will see you later on this week. Thanks for joining me today on my meal prep. And hopefully you got something a little out of this and you can work on changing the perspective of a hurdle that you may be dealing with. Tell me in the comments, what is one stall in your life that you can change the perspective of and now see as a maintenance win? Until next time, everybody, I'm Lisa, and this is Lisa's Beyond 60 Living.